Testing. Yay! Finally. Okay. Testing.
Testing.
Okay.
Yay!
Okay. Great. Okay. All right. Here we go. Um, Yay. I'm so glad you can hear me. Hello, lovelies. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to the Afrocentric Woman. I am so grateful to be here today. I'm so grateful to be able to go live. I actually went live, so I thought about a week ago. I recorded about an hour show, so I thought, and I talked about a few random things, but I talked about gambling, um, and I talked about like the current tactics um, with sports betting, online casinos, online slot machines, and how specifically sports betting is going after women because they've kind of tapped out their male demographic, and so they're going after women as new customers. So I spent at least 40 minutes talking about that, and turns out I was not. My audio wasn't connected, and I just fell asleep after that. Um, After that, I've tried to set up to go live at least 3 times, and I just fall asleep. I'm so tired, y'all. But I'm gonna get into that because I'm gonna talk about um, vitality and energy as it pertains to the level up journey and my experience with it, moving to an affluent neighborhood, and how my exhaustion has definitely limited me in so many areas, and we're going to get into it. So what I want to talk about today, and I think because of my perspective, it will be most relevant to single women, single moms, mothers, who are moving who want to move into a different socioeconomic um, community and level. It would be helpful for them because I'm going to give you my perspective as a mother, and how, what I faced doing that. But I think that anybody, even if you don't have children, you can probably still grab something from what I'm saying that would be relevant to you. And even if you're not ready, or if you haven't moved into, um, you know, a more affluent neighborhood, if you're planning on doing it, um, this would be useful. This would be helpful. Even if you don't move, if you just want to have a better, like an elevated social circle, this would be useful. Okay. So let's get into it. So, around the time that I stopped recording videos on this channel, was the same time I was moving to this affluent neighborhood. The videos definitely started to get more infrequent, and then they just dropped off altogether for about 2 years, maybe over two, somewhere around there. And the reason is overwhelm. It was a huge adjustment for me um, to move, and then also my daughter has been getting older. All this time that I've been online on this channel, she's been getting older, and therefore more activities, more homework, more um, emotional needs, as well, and it's just taken me away. I had not found the balance. I'm still searching for the balance to be able to do this channel and all my other obligations. Um, I didn't want to delete this channel because it's like one of my babies. I got my baby, and then I got this baby. Um, because I felt like, no, I've shared a bunch of useful things on here, I feel, and it's kind of like a diary of my life, and my experiences, uh, transitioning from you know, dating dusty males to learning to value myself and um, distancing myself from dust and, you know, there's little vignettes that have been documented on this channel. And before I left, I had some ideas, and I still do, about how I wanted to like rebrand the channel. I've considered coming on camera. Lots of ideas, and I just couldn't quite work out in my mind exactly how that would look. Um, because I would like to put out a more excellent product than what I've been able to do. um, I have a lot of ideas, and I just couldn't pull it together. And perfectionism just was like, well, if I can't do it perfect, I just won't do it at all. So I just stopped recording. And then so many things kind of slapped me in the face. Or really, I felt like I kind of got just ran over by so much came up for me moving here. A lot of it being financial, and I was definitely very still financially fragile. And um, one of the guys that I was dating pretty regularly, he started to trickle off, and we just kind of, went back and forth. And I don't know, like, yes, guys pay re-entry fees to like get back in my life, but it was still just becoming annoying. Um, and started, there was like, I had a roster really, and kind of everybody trickled off the roster one by one by one by one. And they were just exhausting. It just felt like after a while, for me personally, um, they were just annoying, and I just didn't care about the money anymore. I just didn't care about I just didn't want to deal with them. Like, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes there's just no dollar amount on your mental wellness, and I just didn't want to do it anymore. So I made a conscious decision, like, I don't want to deal with annoying males anymore. So I want when I decide to deal with them again, I want to be more financially strong. I don't want to be so fragile. I don't want to be dependent upon anybody. So that led me to a bunch of soul searching for myself and really finding my way. And that's a whole nother story that I'm not even going to get into today. So, what I want to talk about tonight is um, I want to talk about lessons learned, a lot of mistakes I made um, in moving to this affluent area, which I now kind of feel was premature. I don't know. It's like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? I don't know. Like, do you go and do you figure things out, or do you stay where you are and like um not and try to like get yourself together before you go? And in my case, I went prematurely. It's one thing to go to, as Shira would say, the rich side of town, and like go and like run your errands, which I was doing. Like, my dentist was over here, my daughter's dentist is over here, uh my doctor's office. Nah, I moved that one later. What else was over here? Um, I don't remember. I don't remember what else I had set up over here. But my dentist for sure had been here a whole year before I moved here. I was coming to the dentist over in this side of town. So, mistakes I've made, um, and really integrating, because there's a difference between going and visiting somewhere. Besides, there's a difference between getting up, getting dressed, and like going to visit, an affluent side of town or wealthy area of town. And there's a huge difference between living there every single day. You see the same people, you have the same neighbors, you go to the little dive bars in your neighborhood, you go to the local restaurants, you go to the local pharmacy. If you have children, in my case, you're at the local school district or the local private school. And it's just a different it's just different. I don't know. And I wouldn't have been able to predict that before I moved here, but I learned that quickly. It's very different living here on a day-to-day basis versus running errands, coming to have dinner, which I would do all the time, coming to have dinner, going to a cigar lounge, going um, to a park and running, just running your errands over here. Um, it's different living here and interacting with your neighbors and PTA and school mom drama and all that crap. It's just a different ball game. So I want to share with you things I've observed and how I contrast my observations with myself and my life, as well as other women. I've seen other women come here and fail as well, and have left. This is not a place for the weak. I'll tell you that much. You need to have you need to have a strong sense of self. You need to be confident. Especially as a Black woman. I mean, talk about minority of a minority of a minority. There's just not a lot of us here. You have to have strong skin. You have to be resilient and a lot to deal with everything that comes with being here. And I've seen women come and go. I've seen women come and fail and leave, because it's not for the faint of heart, and that's for certain. So I'll tell you about like mistakes I've made, observations I've made, contrasting myself with others, as well as women who I've seen who've been unsuccessful. Um, Specifically, I can talk about Black women who haven't been successful here. I can tell you about white women who haven't been successful here too. Um, and yeah, so let's just get into it and we'll just kind of free flow and see how far I get through this list, if I can get through all of it. So, the first piece of advice that I can give you when moving to an affluent area is to be well rested. Be well rested. Have vitality, have energy. Um, One of the markers of poverty is exhaustion. It just instantly, um, it instantly puts you in like, they don't need to know anything else about you. They don't have to know your name. They don't have to know where you went to school. They don't have to know who your parents are. If you're exhausted, and especially chronically exhausted, they know that you're not in their income level. They know that you're not in their circle because these women have nannies, they have night nannies, they have housekeepers, they have laundress. Do you know what a laundress is? It's just people that come and do your laundry. They have laundress, they have people that run their errands, um, they have professional organizers. They don't do their own hair. They get their hair blown out. They get their hair colored. Um, they have tennis instructors. They have all the stuff. And also, the grandparents are involved. So a lot of times the grandparents are not far away or they come and visit on a rotation. So the husband's parents will come, the mother's parents will come. Like the grandparents are involved. Like the grandparents are retired, they're living comfortably on their savings and investments, and they have the time to invest in their grandchildren and enrich their grandchildren, which really relieves a load off of the the parents. So the parents have time to like either work on their career or play tennis all day or whatever, to or go to Pilates because the grandparents are loving enjoying their grandchildren. And you know, other extended family like aunties and whatnot. And so if your parents are still working and they're exhausted and you're exhausted, it's just a red, it's not going to say red flag. It's just a signal that you're not in that socioeconomic group because they don't relate to your exhaustion. And this is something that I've learned. I am chronically exhausted because I don't have any of that shit, which I'm working on. I guess we can talk about that. I don't have a nanny. I don't My mother literally just retired earlier this year. So she had been working all the time that I had been living here and not really helping me at all. Um, don't have that extended family help. Don't have a personal assistant. Don't have So it's like even now I have I have like a basket of laundry that needs to be folded. I started organizing my pantry downstairs and it's like one fourth of the way done. And so like all this stuff's on the counters. Um it's just a lot. Like the whole house really needs to be cleaned. And I'm exhausted because I don't have a housekeeper. Now, one of the guys that I was dating, like the last one, um, he was paying for my housekeeper. So that was helpful. And I definitely felt like I had more energy when I had my housekeeper. She was really good. I went through Before I found her, I went through like four housekeepers um because I just couldn't find the right one. And a really important thing for me was that I needed someone that would wash the linens. Like, I don't necessarily need a laundress in the face. Like, I don't need you to like wash my clothes and fold them and put them away. I can do that if you clean the house. But I wanted someone to take off the sheets of all the beds, wash the sheets, dry the sheets, and put them back on the bed or put a fresh sheet, put a what am I trying to say? Put fresh sheets on the bed, make the bed, and wash all the towels and all the rugs and then put them back. That was very important for me with finding a housekeeper, and I found somebody like that. I miss her so bad, y'all. I need to get her back in my life. But yes, be well rested. Um, this will help you when you're having conversations with people. They will just be able to relate to you better because you're in a similar state of being. Um, the people that they interact with that are exhausted are usually some type of service provider, you know, their lawn person, um, maybe their housekeeper, maybe the person that washes their car. And so it just puts you in a place of like, oh, um, this is not my peer. Instantly, it's just something as simple as like being exhausted. Um, these wealthy women do not relate to that because that's not their life. And so they would have a harder time connecting with you and um, just having conversation because, like I said, they don't relate to that. And so that's a mistake that I've definitely made coming here. It's just I didn't set up a support system for myself so that I don't have to be exhausted because I'm exhausted right now. And I've been chronically exhausted for like the past, I don't know, 5 years, just overwhelmed with stuff. Um, so now I'm at a place where I'm kind of reflecting and thinking about how do I pivot? Next year we're going to a different school. So I'll have an opportunity to meet a new group of people. I'll still have the same people that'll be, traveling along to the school with me, but I will also have an opportunity to meet an entire different group of people and how I want to set up, like, how I want to, my first impressions to be. I'm thinking about all of those things. Plus, it's just not fun It's not fun to be exhausted all the time. I'm not enjoying this. Um, I'm not the best mother in my state right now. I I barely look at, like, I barely can keep one eye open to look at homework. Um, I'm do things at the last minute, ordering like the Halloween costume I ordered last minute. They were both not the right size, just all that kind of stuff. So I have a vision of being a better mom, being um, just feeling healthier, feeling more well. And um, yeah, and so some of the things that I've been doing, like this morning, I got up, even though it's a Saturday, I got up at like 5:50 a.m. and I went on a run. Um, I'm looking at my food intake, my water, my hydration, trying to get more sleep and working out again to help me be more rested, like just be more efficient with energy use. When you have more muscle mass than fat, your body runs more efficiently and you appear to have more energy. So I'm working on that. And I'm also working on being creative about the support system that I have for myself. I've started to draft a job description for an assistant, like a house manager slash personal assistant, um, that can help me keep up with all of the school events and community events and doctor's appointments and all of that. Because I've been doing it and it's overwhelming. And sometimes I feel like I'm doing kind of a crappy job at everything. Like, I'm not really excelling in any area because it's so many things. Like, I'm kind of just half ass doing everything I do. Like, I'm a half ass mom. I'm like half ass at work, half ass on this channel. I'm half ass friend, half ass, like everything. And I'm probably being too hard on myself because I tend to do that. But I say all that to say, I'm just acknowledging that when everything is on your plate, something eventually gets bumped off. Something is going to fall off the plate. Like, the plate is a finite plate. And I'm at that place where things are constantly falling off. And I'm accepting and embracing that I need help. And it may be unconventional. Like, I'm opening my mind um, to what this help can look like. Because I feel oftentimes that I'm drowning. Um, I'm just like doggy paddling to save my life. And um, yeah, and I feel like a lot of times people look at single mothers drowning and they're just kind of like, well, I don't know. They feel no ways about it. And I mean, probably mothers in general. Um, mm, like, that's what you're supposed to do. But males can like do the most basic of stuff and they're just like, oh my God, dad of the year. Or they just like rush in to help, like they just swarm in on the man and help him because God forbid he be like beholden and like responsible for his children fully. They never allow that to happen. Um no, like he need like it's in like they see him, they see the children, they think he needs help and they help. Anywho, um so you definitely want to be well rested, find a way to nourish yourself and have everything that you need, so that you show up wherever you go and you can be fully present. You can be fresh faced, um, and vibrant, and appear to have leisure time. This will help you connect with people in a higher socioeconomic um, level. Okay, moving on. I think my okay. Thank God. I'm sorry. I just got a text from one of my caregivers, and I was hoping she wasn't like backing out of um helping me with my daughter altogether, but she's just saying she can't help Thanksgiving weekend. Praise God, because I was about to literally have a meltdown on this live if she quit, because I really need her for the rest of the school year. Okay. Um, the next thing is to be on time. When I tell you these white people start on time, they start on time. Okay. They start on time. So if you are like me and you are, you know, used to CP time, or you're just like running behind, or you're disorganized, it you'll stand out like a sore thumb, because these ladies start on time. If it says 8 a.m., people are there at 7:45, 7:50, 7:55. They're ready to go at 8 a.m. So if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. If you are late, you're obnoxious, and they see you as not serious. They see you as someone who doesn't take their life serious, someone who is not reliable. It just says a lot when you are not on time. So practice being on time, being early. You know, um, bonus tip, bring coffee if you can. Like if if it hasn't been arranged for, it's not that expensive. Like you can get I know you used to be able to get the big jug of coffee from Starbucks for like 20 bucks. I don't know how much it is now cuz they've gone up on their prices ridiculously. Um but there could be wherever coffee shop in your little town or whatever. You could just bring coffee, come early, and everyone will love you. And you will have spent like $20 and you will be the hero. So be early, and be ready to go by the time whatever meeting you're attending, whether it's a meeting, rather it's brunch, rather it's, meeting up to um, go on a walk, or meeting up to play mahjong, meeting up wherever to do whatever. Be early, be on time, because being late signals to many people in that affluent bracket that you're just not one of them, because they are on time usually, unless like some catastrophe happened, but they don't think twice about it. It's just a part of their way of life. They are on time and they are about their business. So, an easy and free way, it doesn't cost you anything, to signal that you belong, that you are too affluent, is to be on time. All right, moving on. Um, on that vein, I will say be organized and have your shit together. Um, Being organized and having your stuff together also signals that you belong. Um, Now, keep in mind that these people might have personal assistants, or sometimes their husband's executive assistant is also like quasi their assistant too. Or they just have personal people like house managers. They have all kinds of ways to be organized and on top of things that you may or may not have. So until you can afford to have your own personal assistant or house manager, um, be that to yourself. Find a way to be organized. Have an online calendar or a planner so that you can write things down, so that you know what's coming up, and you can prepare yourself. for the things that are coming up. And so for those of you who have children, I mean, a lot of the socializing, um, a lot of the socializing and mingling and meeting people in your neighborhood, in your community, is going to come through your school. It's going to come through the school, and it's going to come through the extracurriculars that you choose to put your child in. And there's a lot to remember with that, whether it's a track meet, a soccer game, who's bringing snacks this week, who's volunteering at the library, the PTA fundraiser, um, the auction, oh, um, teacher appreciation week, principal week, blah, 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 blah. It's a lot. It is a massive amount to keep up with. But if you do it, if you can find a way to do it, you will appear that you belong. When you're discombobulated, you don't know what's what, you're tired, you're exhausted, you don't know what the day is, you forgot to bring the snacks, you forgot your child is late to the game, you were running behind, people are depending on you. Like if your kid's the goalie, they're depending on you. You got to be there. And I'm telling you this out of mistakes that I've made. I don't think I need to rail on myself too much during this live, but just know that I'm giving you this advice from a place of experience. So yeah, people are depending on you for the snacks. They're depending on you to have your kid there to be the goalie. They're depending on um, your child to be in the relay, whatever the case may be. Be organized. Keep up with all of that stuff. And okay, I'll get to that with the next one. Um, just appear to be together. Appear to have the things that you need for the task at hand. So have whatever tools you need for the task at hand. So if you go to a meeting and you're supposed to be the note taker, you need to have the tools to do that. You need to have a notepad, an iPad, or something to do the notes. Have the things that you need for the task at hand. Um, yeah, let's move on to the next one. Honor your word. Honor your word. When I tell you, even if it's something that's beyond your control, you can experience a lot of vitriol if you're not able to honor your word. If you are, or I would say maybe vitriol is a strong word. I'll say the cold shoulder, negative response, etc. If you commit to doing something and you do not follow through, you said you were going to email the teacher, you didn't do it. You said you would, do a marketing da 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 for this women's group, you don't do it. Your ass is grass with that group of ladies. Okay, like you can almost be dead to them. So if you're organized, I'll give you this tip. Consult your calendar before you say yes to anything. Consult your calendar before you say yes to anything. Don't be a people pleaser. Think of your word as bond. So whatever you say you're going to do, you're going to do it. And so the commitment that comes out of your mouth needs to be firm. So it's okay to say, let me get back to you. But if you say that, you got to get back to them. Honor your word. If you say you're going to get circle back, circle back. Um, but consult your calendar, because when you commit to something, um, volunteering at the library every Monday, or, the first Monday of the month, everybody's depending on you to do that. And um, honoring your word is just, it's key. So if you cannot honor your word, you need to renegotiate the agreement. So if you agreed to do something and you cannot do it, you need to renegotiate that and have some solutions, have some ideas. Don't just abandon your post. Um, and this kind of, like, another thing is, like, you kind of want to mingle with people and do favors. Affluent people, they keep tabs on favors, I think more so than I've noticed in other groups. Like it's important, or maybe it's just where I live, but they keep tabs of that kind of stuff. Like if you do a favor for them, they feel obligated to do a favor for you. Um, so the more favors you can amass, then you like have those favors to call upon later in life. So um, try to mingle in a way to where you can have backups for like if something happens and you can't fulfill your duty, that you can find a replacement. Um, because ultimately, if you said you would do it, it's your responsibility. And um, a lot of these affluent ladies just do not take kindly to people abandoning their post. So they will expect for you to find a replacement, even if you have to hire someone. They would expect for you to get the job done. So honor your word, and that will help you maintain a smooth um, mingling and like a smooth social circle when you honor your word. Okay, moving on. Oh, I've already talked about this. Do favors to get favors. Yeah, so that just segues into my next piece of advice. Do favors so that you can have favors. For me, my philosophy is if I'm doing something, it's because I want to do it and I can do it. And I don't feel like you owe me anything. Somebody texts me on our class group. Their daughter wasn't able to go to the school in the morning. Like there's a group of children that welcome the children to school, especially like the little pre-K kids. Um, and her daughter couldn't do it, and I was like, "Sure, we can do it." Like my daughter loves to do stuff like that, and I was kind of like, "Okay, we did it. I'm done with it. I don't even remember it anymore. Like I'm moved on. I don't think twice about it." And this lady found me on a Thursday. I was at the school and she's like, "Oh my God, I really appreciate you doing that. Like, if you need anything, definitely call us." Like, you know, so for them, they keep tabs on that kind of stuff. And I know it might be a bit of a stretch if you don't. Um, but they do, or at least in my community, they do. They remember these favors. They feel obliged to help you if you ever need help. So why not give it a try if you have the capacity to just little favors here and there. I mean, they may not even cost you any money, just time and a little energy. But it can go a long way to buy you goodwill in the community. Um, of course, be strategic about it. I'm not saying be anybody's mule. I hope you didn't hear that. Be strategic always, but strategically, if you can do a few favors to help yourself in the future, do it. Why not? All right, moving on. Accept invitations. Oh my gosh, y'all. I didn't realize how I was I was rebuffing so many invitations, especially when I first moved here. I mean, people would like, you should come over for a drink. Like, you should, yeah, let's let the kids play. Like, you should, and I'd be like, oh, okay. Oh, yeah. And I don't know if it was a self confidence thing. I don't know if I felt at the time that it was a meaningless gesture, like just someone saying something, just out of politeness. But what I realized was those were real invitations that I was ignoring. And I would say for several people, they probably invited me anywhere between 1 to 3 times. And then after the third time, when I don't follow up, I stopped getting invitations. I stopped getting invitations. So, and then people kind of felt kind of slighted by me actually, because they were inviting me and I wasn't even saying yes, or I was just kind of like blowing them off because I just didn't take it seriously. And I mean, I think I've got some internal work that I need to do about my own confidence and things like that, but that'll be probably between me and my therapist. I don't know if I'll bring it to the channel. I don't know. We'll see. But I do realize that I have a lot of work to do in that area. And so what I can say is that when you're invited, take the like accept the invitation. RSVP. If it is a loose invitation, follow up and firm it up. If they're like, yeah, we should go, if they're like, let's say there's a local restaurant or a new cafe opens and, you know, a woman, you're communicating with says like, oh, I'd love to check that place out. We should go. You're like, yeah, we should go. You know, follow up with her. Say, hey, you mentioned checking out cafe XYZ. Let's go to cafe, or, what about Tuesday, Thursday, or next Wednesday, da 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 da, and like give time frames to actually do it. Um, this shows a genuine interest, that people are letting you into their closed circle, or you're around, right? Their closed circle. And if you're moving in, let's say your children are older, or, I don't know, like you weren't with them in pre K. These women, I'm telling you, this may be another affluent woman thing. These women start getting together when they are pregnant. And I don't know if this is just my neighborhood. I kind of live this is a bit of an anomaly because this is like the second most affluent neighborhood in the state. So I don't know. Take what I'm saying with a grain of salt because I think a lot of the stuff that happens here is abnormal. It's not your everyday, like, oh, software engineer and an accountant live in a nice house driving Mercedes. No, we're talking family offices, billionaires, multimillionaires, um, endowments, people's families' names on streets, buildings and colleges named after people's families, and they live here. That's the type of people these are. So I don't know how relevant this is to your everyday average. We make $500,000 a year. I don't know, but take whatever I'm saying with what you can. Okay. So these women, they get together in preschool when, like, before the children start school, they start bonding. They get together in preschool associations when they are pregnant, when they have an infant, and they meet regularly before they even start school. So these are women who have bonded for years. And here you are coming, you know, with your second grader, with your third grader, with your eighth grader, with your high schooler, who knows? They don't know you. Um, but they do know they have a lot of money, and there's always people wanting access to their money, either through they have, oh, I have the best investment, you need to invest in my investment, or oh, donate to my charity, or oh, whatever, hire me. Oh, it's just always, they're always fielding people wanting to attach to them for money or for status. They're used to dealing with people who are social climbing. Anyway, you don't want to overly appear to be in those um, categories that they are predisposed to ignoring and dismissing and, like, you know um, excluding, right? So if they are giving you an olive branch of inviting you somewhere, take it. Take it. Don't put yourself in a situation where you're going to be financially, like, if it's a restaurant you can't afford, suggest something else or just find a way to maneuver out of that. I don't think that you should I don't think that you should economically disadvantage yourself or financially stretch yourself, or um, incur debt just to be around people, because these people, a lot of them have a lot of money, and you have to be smart and strategic. But, something like coming to somebody's house, or taking a walk, or meeting up early, before a game, or, anything like that. Take the invitation. I feel like I've been invited to so many people's houses that I just never went to. I was thinking about this woman. She wanted to do a play date like so many times, and I just never really followed up. I think her daughter is like a little kind of a little awkward and has a hard time like making friends. And I mean, it would have been, I still might follow up with her. And we'll kind of get into that, because I mean, I've made a bunch of mistakes, but I'm still here. I'm still not giving up. I'm still trying to make the best out of my situation, regardless of what mistakes I may have made or did make. Um, I'm still committed to the process, and I'm still in it. It's not like I'm waving the white flag and moving back to the hood. Anyway, moral of the story is accept invitations and follow up. Okay, this next one is very practical. Get a decent car. Make sure you have a decent car. Okay. Now, I'm not saying go get a Tesla, go get a Mercedes, go get a Ferrari, go get an Aston Martin. I'm not saying that. I'm saying make sure you have a decent car. So, a car that's like less than 10 years old, no body damage on the car, no paint damage on the car. The car's not leaking oil, making weird noises, and, just have a decent car. That's it. That's all I'm saying. Um, if you pull up in a car and their maid has a better car than you, that's a problem. That's a major problem. Um, it's a way to just stick out. It's like you don't belong. You'd be better off saying, I'm an environmentalist. I don't drive. I just ride a bike. You would be better off not having a car than having a piece of crap of a car. Okay. Seriously, get a decent car. Find a way to have a decent car before you move to an affluent neighborhood. Unless people are going to see your car pull up and they're going to assume you're a server, you're there to clean the yard, you're there to work. You don't want to give off the impression that you are there to like clean the yard. Okay? All right. It's very practical, but very true. So be practical, get what you can afford. I've learned a lot about finance lately. Like, if I can go back, I would definitely just pay cash for a car. Like, I definitely have a vision to like pay cash for cars in the future. Or get a private loan, like through private banking, where I can pay like 2 or 3%. Um, because yeah, paying an interest rate on a car, on a depreciating asset, is insane. But I mean, a lot of us are in a situation where we have to pay interest rate on a depreciating asset. But the more I've learned in finance is it's a bad deal. So I'm not encouraging you to go and buy a car that you cannot afford. What I'm saying is set a goal for yourself to purchase a car some type of way that will be decent before you move to an affluent neighborhood. Or if you are already there, make a plan to obtain a reliable, safe, decent car as soon as you can. All right, moving on. All right. Um, my next piece of advice is have an everyday put together look. And this goes back to the beginning of this live when I was telling you it's very different to get up and get dressed and and go to the rich side of town, to go to the affluent area of town and be there and then go back to your house, and then you can just kind of like go back and like schlep around and no one would be the wiser. But when you live here and when you want to take a neighborhood run, you're running through the neighborhood. Everybody sees you. You want to go to the local coffee shop, everybody sees you. You need to go pick up something at the grocery store, you're going to run into somebody you know. You want to go to the pharmacy, you're going to run into somebody you know. Especially, well, like I live in a very small community. Um, so and plus, if you have children, you're going to be dropping your children off every day at school, picking them up, always around. So you need a couple of like everyday looks. Like you need an errand look, like put together, you know, matching, just like decent, comfortable clothes. Like, because this isn't a like get dressed to the nines. This is not that situation. You're not getting dressed to the nines to go to the pharmacy. You see what I'm saying? Like you're not doing all the extra. So, what is your everyday comfortable, I'm going to the grocery store, I'm going to the pharmacy, I'm going to take a run. What does that look like? Audit your workout gear. Are your shirts raggedy, tattered, sweat stains on them, holes in them? These ladies take their workout athleisure very seriously, hence the rise of Lululemon and all of that kind of stuff. So they take athleisure very seriously. So if you want to blend in and be able to mingle and fit in, you want to have elevated, upgraded athleisure that, these ladies live pretty active lives. Like maybe they drop their kid off, then they go play pickleball, then they go do Pilates, and they go get their hair blown out. So they're just kind of like moving around, right? So they're not dressed to the nines. They're not. And I mean, I live in the South too. I think things are a little bit more put together up north. But here in the South, they're just not doing that. They're just not doing that. So, um, really look at your everyday looks. Like when I go to the grocery store, the pharmacy, um, where else? Da, 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 da. Grocery store, pharmacy, dry cleaners, places like that. Like, what does your casual look like? Do you look put together? Look at the other people around. Are you sticking out? Do you look do you look You know what I'm saying? Now, I will also weave in there, it's okay to be unique. Like, we are unique. Like, I know me myself, like, it doesn't take much for me to stand out because I'm usually the only Black woman. So that's automatic. I'm automatically standing out. And then I got a little spice to me. I've got some culture, some spice, some texture, um, some depth, some color. I've got all of that, and I'm still working on a way to kind of weave that in, but it's just such a part of me that I just can't. It can't be washed out. And even if I put on the same thing some lily white person puts on, it's automatically got flavor once I put it on because I'm the Coke bottle shape, the hips. So you know what I'm saying. So anyway, you need to find your way. You got to find your way, but you have to find a way to find these various looks. Your workout look you need a everyday errands need, you need a errands look. You need a um drop the kids off at uh school, pick the kids up. What are you wearing? Um you need a cocktail dress because you're bound to be invited to a cocktail party at some point in time. So you might need a couple of those, or at least find a way, maybe like rent the runway or something, like a way that you can just like get a dress for that event. If you're involved in religious organizations like church or something, you need stuff to wear to church. You might have to go and people watch and see what the people are wearing so that you know what to wear. And people wear different things to different services. Some services are way more formal than others. Like Oh my gosh, the 9 a.m. service, everyone's wearing, the men are wearing full suits, the women are wearing, you know, tights and like nice dresses and scarves and da 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 da. But the 12 p.m. service is more casual. So you need to be observant of what you're doing on a routine. And see, this is the thing when it comes to living in the community versus coming to visit. So when you live in the community, you're going to have somewhat of a routine. So if you're going to be coming to the 12 p.m. service, you need to be observant of what is the vibe of the 12 p.m. service so that you can fit in and look nice and elevated. Um, you're going to the school every day. So work that into your rotation about what you're going to be wearing. What are the moms showing up wearing? And how can you fit in? Of course, still be yourself, but how can you not stick out so much? Um, Running your errands. What are you going to be wearing? And what is your everyday hair situation? What is your everyday makeup situation? These are all things to sit down and map out because when you're living in the affluent area, you have no break except for when you're in your house. But I mean, even going to get your mail, even going outside to get your packages, you see what I'm saying? It's always an opportunity to just, you know, um, be seen. So keep that in mind. All right, moving on to the next tip. My next tip is for you to craft your story. People are going to really want to know, why are you here? Where did you come from? And why are you here? So instead of fumbling your way through this, I would suggest that you craft your story. Um, I'm not necessarily saying lie. I'm not a really good liar. I wish I were actually a better liar than I am. I wish I were a better liar and a better actress. I'm not that great at either one. Um, so if you're like me and you're not that great at lying, um, what I would suggest is that you take the best of your story, take the highlights, take the best of your story, um, and use that to craft your backstory. Take the highlights, take the best parts, kind of omit or downplay or def, def, um, divert the bad parts. Like, just say, like, you'll get back to, oh, I'll have to tell you that story another day. And then just never tell it. You see what I'm saying? They're like, where's your child's father? Like, are you married? Oh, girl, I'll have to tell you that another day. But what I really loved about my upbringing was that my grandmother was a devout Christian woman and she really raised me with great values. You see how I did that? I just diverted away from the bad and I talked about something good. So the you'll have to identify those highlights of your life so that you can have those stories teed up and ready to go. I was an all-American track athlete at when I was growing up, and that instilled a lot of discipline in me, and I still love to run to this day. You see, so just find something in your past. I mean, you can kind of just brainstorm things down, like things that you would consider highlights, anything positive about your upbringing. You don't need to talk about your alcoholic dad. You don't need to talk about the fact that your baby daddy abandoned you. You don't need to talk about the fact that you were on housing or welfare. You don't need to talk about the fact that any of that. You really don't. It's not necessary for anybody to get to know you. You just don't have to talk about that. Um, so craft your story and craft the reason why you're there. So you don't want to be like, I came here because I wanted opportunities for my child. way too transparent, and then people could possibly um, they could possibly interpret that as social climbing or something of the like. So you want to have some reason while you're there, like, now this might be a time where you might have to lie. Just say, yeah, I hired this, I wanted to make a move to find a better place, and I hired a real estate agent, and she just really convinced me to move here. She just said, like, she thought I would like it, and she found me the perfect place. And so I came out here on the appointment that she set, and I thought it was good. So I moved in. You see that? So kind of put it off on something else. Like, if you have a friend that lives in the neighborhood, or if you have some ties to the neighborhood, like, oh, well, this is closest to my job, or the real estate story is great. So if you would like to use it, please take it. Take that story and make it yours. Um, but you need, when you craft your story, you need a backstory, just the highlights of who you are, the good parts. If anything, if they ask you anything that could possibly be negative, like about your child's father, just divert it to another date, but never get back to it. And then um, why you're there. You need a reason of why you're there that has nothing to do with them being rich, that has nothing to do with them being affluent, that has nothing to do with you wanting to be in their circle. It has to be totally devoid of that. It has to be just you just happen to be there because it was just the next step of your life. It was just the next logical step of your life, and you just wound up there because you were flowing through life, and that's where life took you. So make that how you will. Okay. The next piece of advice I would say is distance yourself from toxic people. Um I will say that the little squabbles that we get into as Black women, our disagreements, we ain't got shit on these white women. I mean, they cut to the white meat, and they already white. Um, the viciousness of these women can be, um, they just be white people in sometimes. So distance yourself, and let me try to give you an example to try to help you contextualize what I'm saying. I was befriended by this white lady out here, and I thought she was kind. I thought she was welcoming. She's like second generation. So her parents, you know, raised her here. And now she's raising her child here, second generation. So her child is third generation. So, I thought that that was pretty cool. And I remember there was a particular team, and I knew, like, there's this very exclusive country club here. Well, there's multiple, but like the most exclusive country club. Um, like, I don't know, maybe there's 10,000 people on the waiting list or something. It's just very exclusive. Her sister is a member at this country club, and she and I were talking about a sport that her daughter was interested in trying. And I found out that if you have a friend or a family member who is a member of a country club, they can sponsor your child to be on a team at that country club. So I didn't know that. Yeah, I mean, I found that out, and I was like, man, that's really great. Like, if there was something that I really wanted my daughter to do, and I knew somebody at a particular country club, I knew that I could ask them for that favor. Although that's a huge favor to ask, I haven't asked anyone, but I just kind of have it in my back pocket as information. So I said, why don't you get your sister to sponsor your daughter? That's her niece. Like, she could, and be on this team. And she's like, oh no, she won't. Um, she won't anything with a club. She won't associate with me or something. She said something like, I can never use her name at the club. I think she said something like that. I can never use her name at the club. She won't involve me in the club. And I remember thinking something is off. Either you're omitting something and you've told your ass with your sister, or your sister's a bitch. Like one of the two has to be true. It turns out she's fucking crazy, and that's why her sister will not allow her to use her name at the club. And there's a whole host of other things. But I would say that I ignored those kinds of red flags in order to give her the benefit of the doubt. But ultimately, she ended up being batshit crazy. She, I, I kind of felt, for lack of better words, that I was on thin ice with so many people, like people just kind of side eyeing me, not understanding my presence, not knowing my motivations, not even understanding how I'm even able to be here. Um, and so they're all kind of like giving me the side eye. So then when this batshit crazy lady started making up all these delusional statements about me, it just made ne- a very fragile, slightly negative, delicate situation worse. So people who were on the fence about me were definitively on an anti me stance once they encountered this lady. So ultimately, I had to cut her off. She kept reaching out, she kept inviting me places, wanted to talk, and she was trying to get a reality TV she was trying to get a reality TV show um over here. She used to be on one of these reality TV shows, and she was trying to get the reality TV show, like a different one, like single moms in our affluent neighborhood. And she was like, "Well, they need to know that I have friends, and they need to know that um you would be willing to come on camera." Because that was her problem with the last show that she did. Her family wouldn't come on camera. So they really didn't want to build the show around her because she just didn't have enough. Like you need friends of the show. Like people have to talk to you about different things, people have to do activities with you, and none of her family wanted to film. So she was like, "Well, can you send me a headshot? I want to present you as like one of my friends that would be willing to film." And I thought about it for a while. I was like, I don't know. I guess I'll be willing to do it if it's not that much of a commitment. Sure, I'll do it. But that pilot didn't end up like going going anywhere. But during the time when she was filming, I guess because of that reality TV, like people just get on there and argue and they're just so mean and vicious to each other. I think she was kind of in that energy. And so she was kind of directing that towards me. And I'm like, girl, ain't nobody even here filming. What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? And I just felt so much sadness because I felt like I had just misjudged the entire situation. I thought she was being kind. I thought she was my friend, and so when everything was blowing up and she was being so mean, I cried. And I was just like, I can't believe you're acting like this. I can't believe you're treating me this way, you know? And she was like, tears don't work on me. Like, I don't want your sympathy. I don't know. It's just like, this is just me and you. We're talking, you're talking to me, I'm talking to you. We are not being filmed. There's no camera crew here that I know of, unless you're like secretly recording this. I don't know. But to my knowledge, it's just me and you talking, one human to you. And we're trying to connect. And I'm trying to figure out what is happening here. And you are still being so callous. So from that point, I was like, I really misjudged this situation. And this person is troubled deeply. And they've sullied my reputation. They've made up a bunch of things about me that aren't true and has possibly done irreparable harm to my reputation. So I had to completely cut this person off. Um, I still see her and I'll say hello. I'll see her ex husband. I don't have a problem with her ex husband. He's fine to me. Like, I don't have an issue with him. I'll speak to him, but she's she's she was too dangerous to keep around. So all I can say with that is keep your eyes open and your ears open and don't convince yourself of something that you did not hear. If you heard it, you heard it. If you experienced it, you experienced it. And see how people regard that person. Do their family even mess with them? Are they estranged from their family? Does their family have to put, weird boundaries around them? It may not be the family, it may be them. So beware of that like you would with any other situation, situations with dating, situations with anything else. Always, be self preserving and discerning um, when you are. Um, when you are maneuvering in these spaces. And I think part of the reason why I was so vulnerable to that was that I just didn't have a lot of friends here. And she was being kind to me. But one thing I learned was that she was being kind to me to try to manipulate me. And I have my guard up with men because, I just think they're all full of shit and I kind of know what the deal is. But with women, I let my guard down more and I assume that women are genuine because I am. But she was very controlling and manipulative, and she would, um, do things to try to control me. And like one thing that I'll give you two examples of like stuff that she ended up saying that I did. One of them was that, oh, and that's on my list too. Yeah, it's my next it's the next point on my list. But one thing that she would say was that I would financially abuse her or use her, which was totally not true. I remember one time, I think she like how we became cool was how did we I don't remember the exact way. But anyway, our children started hanging out with one another. And I think one time she took the children to this like local um, burger restaurant, and I was like, "Well, how much was the food?" She was like, "Oh no, no, don't worry, don't worry." And I was like, "No, you took them out. Like, I should like let me give you something for the food." She was like, "No, no, 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 no." Anyway, we fought over this forever. I ended up um putting the money like under her cookie jar because she would not take the money from me. And I just had to like find a way to leave it in her house. And so I put the money under the cookie jar. Once I got home, I texted her. I was like, "Hey, thanks so much for taking them. I know you wouldn't take the money, but I left it in your kitchen under the cookie jar." That's the type of shit that would happen. Like she would always say stuff was a favor, but I just was like, I don't, I like to kind of carry my own weight in this type of situations. I'm not trying to um, be a burden or anything like that. Or maybe if I actually didn't have it, she's like, "Oh, no, no, it's my treat. I'm going to take the girls to the pool. I'm going to take them here or there." But so, anyway, so that's what was happening in reality. But what she was telling people was that I was using her. There were times where um, I would be home. Like, I was definitely going through depression at that time. I would be home depressed, just living in my own world, just, in my own world, doing my own thing at my house. And she would be like, "My daughter wants to go to the pool and she wants to go with your daughter." And I'm like, "Okay, well, maybe another day. I don't, not today." She'll be like, "Oh, no, 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 please. Like, And I'd be like, okay, I'll take her, over there in an hour or something. She would come over here and she'd be like, oh, I know you said you were going to bring her, but like, I'm outside. Can you just send her outside? We want to go to the pool now. And then they would go to the pool and then she'd be like, oh, the girls are playing makeup. The girls are playing dress up. Like, can she just spend the night? And I'd be like, okay, sure. So, anyway, that's pretty much how it went. When it comes to me actually asking for help, it was less than 5 times that I've actually been like, usually it was like a work thing that went over, like, can she go over? Or, yeah, it was usually work related, like, oh, could she come over? But usually the times that I would ask, she was not available, or like she shares custody with her ex-husband. She would be at the ex-husband's house. So the times that I did ask were not a good time for them. So it just wouldn't happen. So anyway, that was the dynamic. And she told people that I use her as a babysitter. Y'all, I can't make this shit up. She told people I used her as a babysitter. So that's just two things, but there were multiple other things that she said that just weren't true. I had to distance myself from this person, cut her off cold turkey. Because the way I see it is, the longer I associate myself with you, the more people are going to think that the shit you're saying is true. And why are you so isolated from people? Because you're batshit crazy. Got a lot of problems. I'm not here to solve them. It's beyond my scope. I cannot do that. And I'm not interested in having a friend that does not know how to respect boundaries. That was how the friendship crumbled. I gave her a boundary and she lost her marbles. I am not interested in being friends with anyone who cannot respect my boundaries. I prefer to be in a friendship with someone who can communicate their boundaries to me. Tell me if you don't want me to call you after 9. Tell me if I'm staying at your house too late. Explain to me you don't wear shoes in your house. Let me know that you don't like people with dark jeans to sit on your white couch. Please tell me your boundaries so that I can respect them. That is how I roll. I want you to communicate your boundaries to me. When I communicate my boundaries to you, I expect respect because I give respect in that way. I gave her a boundary. I expressed the disappointment in her behavior and she lost her marbles. So, anyway, moral of the story is distance yourself from toxic people. Do it quickly, do it swiftly, make a clean break. Just like I have explained on this channel about the red flags in men, look for red flags with women too. And when you see them, observe them. And if you need to preemptively cut off, do what you got to do. If you have to keep it cute, keep people at an arm's length. I would say, like, if you observe some funny stuff, if you observe something that gives you pause, that's a little side eye, before you get close with them, before you start going out into the community and presenting yourself with this person, just observe them. Keep them at an arm's length, keep them at a distance, and just observe, before you're like, oh, come to my house, I'll come to your house, you come to my house, we doing play dates, we going on trips, we doing this and that. No, you just keep it cute, smile, nod, and keep it at an arm's length until you can gather more information. Because usually as time goes on, you know, things will be revealed. Okay. Anyway, moving on. So this comes to my last point on the list, and that is carry your own weight. Carry your own weight. One thing that really surprised me when I moved to this neighborhood was the amount that people um and it kind of goes back to the favors thing. Um People divide everything up equally. And and it was bizarre to me because there's people who have like a net worth of like $50 million, $75 million, $100 million. They can pay for everybody's lunch easily. It wouldn't, you know, it's a drop in the bucket. But everybody pays their own part. They could afford to buy the teacher's gift, but instead they send an email to all the parents and say, hey, we're all donating this da 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 da, da for the gift. Now, I'm not saying I have observed some of the wealthier families make some very significant gifts to the school, some very significant gifts to the school district's endowment, some very significant gifts to the principal. Of course, I've seen all that, and they're sponsored certain events. They ball out at the auction. Absolutely. Absolutely. But when it comes to those everyday, oh, all of the moms, we're going to happy hour, or all of the moms, we da 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 da. In that case, everybody chips in. And I think it's real, and that surprised me. It blew me away. It can be as trivial as $20 each. Everybody pitches in, right? And that blew me away because I just figured, oh well, I have $100 million, I'll pay for everybody's lunch, but no, they don't do that. And I think there's two reasons. One, rich people are not rich. They didn't become rich by being stupid with their money. They are hyper aware of every penny. So no, they're not, you get a car, you get a car, you get a dinner, you get a dinner. They're not like that, you know? They're very prudent. Many of them, very prudent. I could share some stories of some people living beyond their means and losing their house and losing, but that can be a story for another day. I'm talking about just the average. They're very prudent with their money. And yes, they will send you a Venmo request for $5.41. They absolutely will. Or they will send you their Venmo and be like, yeah, you can send the $5.41 here. Um, they're just like that. And that surprised me. Um, let's see. I think it also goes to that favors thing that I was telling you before, doing favors and receiving favors. So basically, it amounts to, if there's a super wealthy person in the group and they're always paying for lunch, they're always paying for the class this, the class that, guess what? They have amassed so many favors that all those people feel indebted to that person. All those people feel like they owe that person something because they did the lunch, they paid for the classroom uh, Valentine's party, they paid for the PTA event, they paid, everybody feels indebted and nobody wants to be indebted that much. So in order to keep everything even keel, they just pay as they go, and everybody is expected to contribute to the best of their ability. They give a baseline amount, like, we would like everybody to do this. Now, if you want to do more, you can do so discreetly at your discretion, but everyone has contributed the base amount that was asked. And that is just part of carrying your weight. And it's expected in these circles. Um, so in other words, don't offer to do the most, because if you do that, you're going to stand out. If you're like, I'll take everybody to happy hour, let's go, they're going to think something's wrong with that girl. What is wrong with her? Because they don't do that. You see what I'm saying? Oh, I'm taking all the moms to brunch, or I'm doing the whole Valentine's party. Nobody does that. Now, there's times where you can give, like fundraisers, auction, stuff like that. Yes, you can, if you have you want to make a sizable donation, you have the ability to do that. But when it's these everyday collective like community things, like, we're going to play pickleball, we've got to reserve the court, everybody kicks in on that. Everybody, even if it's $5. I know you're like, this person has $100 million. Why do they want my $5? Because everybody kicks in. And if it costs $20 to rent the court and there's four people playing, everybody kicks in $5. And I know it seems very, mm, maybe it seems minuscule or it seems insignificant, but that's how these people roll, for the reasons that I just explained. So be ready to carry your own weight, and don't be extravagant in trying to impress, because it will have the opposite effect of what you would think. If you're trying to ball out and pay for everything that's like a communal thing, it will actually make you stick out more than if you follow the norm of everybody chipping in and everybody carrying their own weight. Okay, that's it for my list. Um, I don't, we can, yeah, that's the end of my list. So, does anybody have any specific questions about my experience, or does anybody need any advice on moving to a fluent neighborhood? I'll hang out a couple minutes to see if any questions come through the chat, or if you have any questions about anything else. Chanel says, well done, thank you. You're welcome. I'm grateful to share my story and this advice. I know it can help somebody. Sorry if you heard that weird sound, that was me opening my water bottle. So I'm trying to stay hydrated, y'all. I'm just hanging out to see if anybody has any questions. I will go through my list again. So the first one is be well rested, be on time, be organized and together, honor your word, do favors to get favors, accept invitations extended, get a decent car, have an everyday put together look, craft your story, distance yourself from toxic people, and carry your own weight. You're very welcome, Princess of the Light. It says, very thoughtful list of things not to do. Thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. You are very welcome. Yeah, it's kind of like what not to do, but I kind of try to craft the advice of like what to do. Be well rested, be on time, be organized and together, honor your word, do favors to get favors, accept invitations extended, get a decent car. And I would also add maintain your decent car. Keeping it clean and tidy and in good order. Have an everyday put together look. Craft your story, distance yourself from toxic people, and carry your own weight. Says, thank you for dropping so many valuable gems. Have you lived in this affluent neighborhood for long? Yeah, I've lived here for 3 years now. So maybe, let me see, maybe a little over 3 years at this point. Yeah, over 3 years. So, like the current place that I'm in now, I've been here for over 2 years, but I was living in a different place before this. My building got sold, so I had to move kind of like on all of a sudden. I mean, I guess it wasn't completely all of a sudden, but I really liked my old place. It was much more affordable. It was like one of these older buildings that was owned by this, family that used to live here many years ago. They all kind of moved, all the kids, they kind of just all spread out in different directions. And the children, the dad passed away and left the property to his kids. And they kind of were like, you know, they weren't very active with the building. And so, anyway, they sold it so that they can just kind of let it go. And I had to move. So I moved across the street, basically. Like I moved half a mile from that place to where I'm at now. Um, so yeah, it's been over 3 years, and I don't know. I mean, I can't say I regret my timing because I think everything was just happened as it should have happened. It happened, you know, just as it could. I know where I was living. I just felt like so out of place. And I mean, I kind of feel out of place here sometimes too, but I really felt out of place there. I felt out of place. I felt like there's nowhere. I remember going outside to try to play soccer with my, or no, volleyball with my daughter, and like there's just dog crap everywhere because nobody cleans up after their dog. And I'm like, I just can't do this. It was just a lot. There was a lot going on there. I just felt like I couldn't do it. And I had to make a decision. Like, where am I gonna go? Like, my decision making process was, I'm going to find. My daughter was in a private school. I put her in private school. I was living in this like not the best community, and I had her in private school. And I came to this place of like, well, I'm either gonna find another private school. If I find another, because the school we were at wasn't working out, and I can live wherever I want. It doesn't matter where I live if she goes to private school. Or I'm going to move to an affluent neighborhood with an elite public school. Those were my two choices. And that's how I ended up here. I opted for the elite public school in an affluent neighborhood because they run the school a lot like a private school, which means there's a lot of extra fees. I'm always paying for something every other week. Like, oh my gosh. And when I talk to people who are in like more normal type of schools, they don't feel my pain. They just don't get it. Because they're like, why are you always spending, like, why are you always got stuff to pay for, you know? But when I talk to people that go to private school, they understand because they, even though you pay private school tuition, you still end up, um, paying for a bunch of extra stuff: uniforms, books, activity fees, field trip fees, athletic access fees, meat fees. You just end up spending still a lot of money. Children are expensive. Children are so expensive. I think I want to do I think I want to do a series inviting single moms to talk about their thought process, like what were the red flags of like the guy you were seeing, like your child's father? Why did you ignore them? What was your mind state? What was your state of mind when you were dealing with them? You know, and just try to give the blueprint. Just try to give the blueprint for um, women not putting themselves in this position because it's not easy, and I don't recommend it to anybody. I don't recommend it. Okay. I'm not seeing any more questions coming through the chat. If you think of anything, you can definitely drop it in the comments, and either I can address it or maybe it will give me an idea for another video. If you have video ideas that you would like me to do, if you would like me to go into depth on any of the topics that I um, talked about. I can actually do another video, like being a little bit more tactical, because I kind of gave you really broad overviews of things, but um, more tactical in community involvement, and how you can kind of bridge your involvement, especially if you plan on staying, because your children will graduate when they're 18 or 19 years old. So if you want to stay in the neighborhood, the school is a great way to start relationships. But once your children graduate, if you want to stay, you need other ties to the community, so that you can still have a vibrant life and still have a way to socialize and meet people, as well as maintain the relationships that you have developed. But I know here in my neighborhood, like some people move because it's so ridiculously expensive. A lot of people move, like a neighborhood or two over, like they'll leave this neighborhood, after their children graduate. There's a college over here too, so sometimes they'll move here, like they'll buy maybe a condo for their kids to go to school, and they may keep that condo for a while and then they'll sell it after the child graduates. Or they'll send their school, children to school, kindergarten through 12th grade. And but like when May comes, there are so many for sale signs. When May comes, around graduation time, there are so many for sale, for lease. People are up out of here because they're like, I'm not paying those property taxes. My kid is grown. My kid is out of there. I'm gone. I'm about to leave too. So, um, some people are so rich that they can live here, pay these astronomical prices. They don't even send their children to our local public school. Which is a good school. They will still send their children to private school. You got a lot of money. When you live over here, you have a multi-million dollar home. You don't go to you send your child to private school still. Still. But there are people over here with that type of money. Absolutely. Um, but there's a lot of people who, they're on the cusp. Like maybe they have $5 million. $5 million, meh, I guess it can kind of seem like it's a lot. But if you don't manage $5 million well, you can have $0 in like less than 2 years. You know what I'm saying? Like it's kind of money, but it's the type of money that you need to be really like taking care of and watching, because it's not that much. It's not that much. So even if somebody's, has $1 to $5 million and they're living over here and they've been paying astronomical prices, you know, for the property taxes and all that. And they're like, okay, well, my kids are grown. Now I need to pay for their college. Maybe they've saved up, maybe they've got 529, maybe their kid has a partial scholarship. Who knows? It doesn't matter. You still up spending a crap load of money for your kid in college. You have to fly them back and forth to wherever they live. You have to give them extra spending money. You have to da da da. It's just still expensive no matter how you do it. So they're like, well, I can move 2 miles over here, leave that school district, and I can pay, $100,000 less in property taxes. I can pay, way less mortgage because the house here is valued at 2 million and that house is 7 million. I can save a lot of money on mortgage and I'm still almost in the same neighborhood. So a lot of people leave when their children graduate. Um, But I would say, like, if you want to stay in your neighborhood after your children graduate, you need your own independent adult, adult to adult, um, ties that's not related to children, because the children is kind of a crutch, because it's automatic social interaction. It's automatic talking to people that you may never talk to because your children go to school together. Your children are on the same soccer team. Your children are doing a project together. Your children are, in a play together. And so you're talking to people that you may never talk to on a normal basis. Um, so you need a plan for once the children are out of the picture so that you can continue your, you know, social status, your socializing, friendships new and old, so that you have a way to keep all of that going. Yep. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please like the video and subscribe and share this with someone who could find this helpful. Thank you and talk soon.